Just a disgraceful effort by ABC News, and I honestly could sit here and talk about that all night, but it's probably not the most important part of the debate. An hour and a half of back and forth, and we have a great panel here to discuss it with you. Don't forget, go to BlazeTV.com/debate and use the code DEBATE. You can save $40 off your subscription to BlazeTV. It's an important time for media, and honestly, we could go down that road, and I'm sure we will, as to how ABC actually did during this fiasco. But let's go first to Glenn Beck. We have Glenn Beck here from the Glenn Beck program here on Blaze TV.
Remember when I was on Fox and I had the big jar of M&Ms because of Obama and the lies?
You blamed Obama. You wanted to eat M&Ms.
Yeah, well, yes. I haven't had M&Ms for like 4 months. Okay? I haven't had candy or anything.
Lost a lot of weight.
This is medication. I need medication.
Is emotional eating?
Yes. That was astonishing.
It was. Let me introduce our. Can I introduce the panel? That was me introducing the panel, not saying
Sugar's already
talk for 25 minutes.
Everyone's on tilt, Stu.
That's where we are. Okay, Sara Gonzales is here as well from Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. We have Liz Wheeler from the Liz Wheeler Show, Steve Deace from the Steve Deace Show.
Need some medication, Steve?
No.
Right into my veins, brother.
We will get sugar into veins and go to everybody here in a second. Let's start with you, Glenn. You watch this and you know the stakes. What do you think?
Well, I wish this steak was well done, but it wasn't. I think that Donald Trump was calm, but he did not take the opportunities that she handed him multiple times. If you're a low information voter, you're somebody who just watches, occasionally, and you see this and you're like, oh, she seems nice. She seemed nice. She seemed like she was going to be really strong and effective, and she believes everything you believe. I have never seen as many lies in any debate, maybe multiple debates combined. The moderators were completely useless. At least David didn't look at Kamala with doe eyes. She was like, so what's it like to be so beautiful? It was amazing. And she looked at Donald Trump with absolute disdain. She couldn't even hide it. I think overall, it's not going to change anybody's mind. If you were voting for Donald Trump, you're still going to vote for Donald Trump. If you were thinking about Kamala Harris, you're now probably locked into Kamala Harris. The stupid people probably will go because, she's going to end all of this division. They're doing exactly the same thing they did with Joe Biden. He's a moderate. He's going to bring us back to normalcy. That's what they're doing again. And I think in a very effective way for stupid, uninformed people.
And that's the campaign they're running. They're running it to those people trying to win those votes. Yeah. Sarah, what do you think?
Yeah, you mentioned that it was a disgusting effort by the ABC moderators. I would say it was a disgusting production, but a very valiant effort by the ABC moderators to try to push Kamala and give her every opportunity that they could. We saw her, mention Trump's Project 2025, which has been debunked about 1 million times. Right. And nowhere did they fact check her on that. She said Trump will, no question, sign a federal abortion ban, which is just funny. It's laughable because he gets hit from the left on that, and while he's getting hit from the right about not being pro-life enough, right? So he can't win. They didn't fact check him on that.
His main point on abortion is it's a state issue.
Right. Well, right.
Sorry.
Which
he says with M&Ms in his mouth.
What he said was. And so, you have Donald Trump just saying, I rely on the Supreme Court, who says that it's a state's issue, which I think, I understand why he says that. I may disagree, and I may be a little more pro-life on that issue, but I understand why he says that. And so, they don't fact check him on that, or her on that. They don't fact check on the fracking thing. She has never said that she wouldn't ban it. And so you just see what turned out to just be a 3-on-1 pile on. That's just what this is. And it turned into a character assassination, back and forth, sniping at each other. I think that Donald Trump took her bait a little too many times when she talked about the money that he didn't make himself. She talked about being handed these opportunities. Right. And he took the bait and started talking about himself and his career and had to defend his own character rather than talk about the issues that Americans wanted to hear about. Like, how are you going to solve the border issue? How are you going to solve the fact that we have migrants taking over our cities? How are you going to solve the fact that everything costs more? Let's talk about how we are going to solve these problems that everyday Americans are facing rather than talk about your defense of how your father gave you money.
Yeah. I really at times started wanting every Trump answer to end with a question to Kamala.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Like, you
did it a couple times.
You did it a couple of times. You're almost going to have to be the moderator in a situation like this. Liz, what did you think?
I think there's three things that I was looking for in this debate. I was looking at Trump's performance, at Kamala's performance, and of course at the role that the moderators played. And we'll get to Trump's missteps in just a second. But I think the moderators, obviously every one of us has followed along on X. It seems like the collective conservative movement is pretty incensed over how biased the moderators were, and rightly so. I mean, this was propaganda level. Yeah. It was RFK when he...
media.
Yeah. It was. It was a disgrace. It was shameful. They should be embarrassed to behave like that. I think it was RFK who said in his speech when he was announcing that he was dropping out of the race, he scolded the mainstream media and he said to them, you are not single-handedly responsible for the downfall of our republic, but you could have stopped it, and you didn't. And that's what I kept thinking when I was watching the moderators and how they handled it. The second part of this was Kamala Harris. I think, and it makes me sad to say this, I think she accomplished what she set out to accomplish with this debate. She was very specifically trying to portray herself as empathetic to liberal women, and that's why she appeared very emotional to us. And I think, unfortunately, that lands with liberal women. I actually kept a list of the lies she told. She is the most...
You must be a fast typer.
Yeah. Can you see me in there the whole time? She is shameless. She acts like she has no soul. She looks into the camera, looks us into the eyes, and tells lie after lie after lie. She lied about how often late-term abortions happen. She lied about the governor of Virginia, who did say that he supported babies being born alive after botched abortions being denied medical care. She lied about the very fine people's Charlottesville hoax.
Oh, my gosh.
That has been debunked even by mainstream outlets at this point.
Snopes. I wish he would have said Snopes.
She lied
Sean
about...
Hannity said,
yeah,
what are you doing, Snopes,
man?
She lied about January 6th.
In the same paragraph.
In the same sentence. I mean, like I said, we'll get to Trump's performance issues in a second. She lied about bloodbath, the context that he used that term.
That was in that same paragraph, too.
I know. It was just like a cornucopia of lies. It was dreadful. She lied about crime data. The reason that crime data appears to be going down is because cities have stopped reporting it to the FBI. It's not because crimes have stopped being committed. She lied about her role in the border crisis. She lied about Project 2025. She lied about fracking. And yet, how many times did these ABC moderators interrupt her?
Zero.
None. Zero times. Absolutely shameful. So then that brings us to the third element, and I'm sorry that I'm taking up more time here than I'm allotted. And that's Trump's performance here. What I was looking for from Trump and what I advised him, what persona I advised him to be pleasant but tough. I didn't want him to look like a bully. I didn't want him to look angry, and he did look angry. He needed to stay on message. He had the advantage here. He's on the right side of every one of these issues, not just morally, not just in my opinion, not just because I agree with his politics, but because the vast majority of the American people do. And yet, instead, he allowed himself to fall for her bait. She tossed out, people don't like your rallies. Were you really successful, or did you get a handout from your father? And he fell for it.
Wait.
He fell for it.
Wait. I have to tell you, you're right. But I don't think I could have endured that. That was 90 minutes. That was 90 minutes of character assassination after character assassination, and lie after lie after lie. At some point, you become a ticking time bomb, and she knows that.
Yeah. Right.
That's why
you have to resist it, though, right?
Yeah,
because you know what she's trying to do.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I have higher expectations Perhaps the president of the United States should be able to be like, okay, I'm going to ignore that. I'll blast her on Truth Social later tonight
that's a good
with
point.
a cat meme.
Yeah.
But right now, I will just ask her questions. What role did you play in the border crisis? How many illegal aliens came? How many young people have been murdered? How many children have been raped?
Yes.
What are you going to do differently than you have already done? Every single topic, there are things. I know he knows these things. He talks about them.
And
I didn't think that he stayed as disciplined as I wanted him to. So I feel disappointed.
I will tell you the thing that I think that she had him on the ropes with. You're weak. You're weak. You're weak. Nobody thinks Donald Trump is weak, but she was just playing that card over and over and over again just to get under his skin.
Specific stuff, and to try to get under his skin. So I feel like we opened up the refrigerator and we pulled out a bottle of Coke and we've just been shaking it for like 20 minutes.
I want to do some Coke, Stu.
Steve, I have to
It's
tell
about
you,
to explode.
Steve
is ready.
we have a video of Steve watching it like this. I mean, it was like he's
Fired
going,
up.
He's
ready.
Yeah.
Fired up, ready to go, Steve. What do we got?
Let me start with this. Allow me to be the first to congratulate David Moore on his appointment as press secretary for President Kamala Harris. I mean, that was an outstanding audition, and I can't think of a better name or another name that we will see offered up for that position come January. That aside, this was the DeSantis-Hannity debate with Newsom in reverse. And what you saw in that debate is Newsom walked into a situation where all the questions were going to be asked from the premise of one of his opponent. And now Hannity, Sean actually came with like facts and stuff, and stats. So I'm not drawing a moral equivalency, but it was certainly a situational one. And you watched Gavin Newsom, who himself is a sociopathic level liar, completely unraveled and undone, and his political brand tainted. I mean, Kamala Harris, they were left with her because they couldn't call him out of the bullpen after what happened in that event. That's what situationally occurred here to Trump. It is very clear. Let me speak as someone who has been a campaign aide. Let me speak as someone who has done debate prep with the presidential candidate. It is very obvious he did not listen to his debate prep team at all. It is very obvious he had no plan at all. It is very obvious he went in there and just thought, I'm going to wing it. That he should have a canned answer. I mean, the idea that they didn't fact check her on what even Snopes and PolitiFact has said is a lie about Charlottesville, but he didn't pull that out, what you said. Instead, he quoted from Fox News hosts, which is actually going to play into her narrative.
Yeah, big time.
Okay? The statement that he made in his closing statement should have been the first thing he said, regardless of any question that was asked, and that should have been a repeated theme. Why haven't you done these things over and over and over again? He took the bait over and over and over again. Over and over again, it felt like he was in the White House, and we're running on his record, and he was defending his record, which is better than theirs. But see, it's a little bit like when I was on the Cruz campaign and we ran against Rubio on immigration. Even if Rubio beat us on a talking point in a given news cycle, the issue itself was a loser for him because of the Gang of Eight. He could never outrun that. And so I would always say to the campaign, let's stay on this issue. Let's not get on any other issue, because the issue itself is a loser for Rubio every time it comes up. That's what Trump walked into here tonight. He talked way too much about it. Everybody wanted to talk about Trump, and so did he. And he allowed them to do that, which means even when he was good, he's letting her off the hook and not forcing her to defend her record. That's a win for her. No matter if he drops a run, spot run, or whatever the point is he drops, if she doesn't have to defend her record, she's looking at the watch, man, okay, that's 5 more minutes. The clock is ticking. I'm getting out of here alive. And you could see she's visibly nervous at the start. She is shaky at the start. You could watch. It's a little bit like a rookie pitcher in their first start in the majors, right? Kind of all over the strike zone at first. They get through that first inning, like, I can do this. And as the innings go on, they get stronger and stronger. And the number one thing that could not happen, I thought, tonight is he could not, and I said this to you before the debate, he could not let her walk out and be seen as a palatable presidential figure to a plurality of Americans. And he did that, okay? Now, there's a long way to go here. And I didn't think he performed well in any of the debates last time, and he still won. There could be a Comey letter. There's organic events we could not possibly foresee for the next 56 days. But his job and our job is tougher now than it was 2 hours ago. Yeah. Because now he allowed her to, and it's clear he didn't listen to Tulsi Gabbard. What did Tulsi Gabbard do? Zeroed in on 1 or 2 issues. and just dissected her with those and deconstructed her before she could run off. They didn't start off 3-on-1. What happened is they ganged up on him when they realized that he was going to take the bait and they didn't have to be afraid. And that piled on as the event went on over and over again. If I'm on the campaign, here's what I'm doing. This never happened. We're never addressing it. I'm not doing a rally bitching and moaning about the, I'm going to let shows like us do it, okay? It's losers bitch about the moderating debates when they leave a debate among the campaigns. That's our job. We should do that. But if I'm the campaign, I'm not talking about it. He shouldn't talk about it. This never happened. And I'm hitting the road tomorrow and getting back on message, okay, that we can't afford another 4 years of this, because we have to look at it the way we would if we were them. If we were them, what would we be saying here tonight? All right.
She ran out the clock.
Yeah, CNN, I don't have to turn it on. All right. John King last time was Joe Biden's got to go. They're going to be orgasmic tonight.
Yes.
Move on. This never happened. Don't spend the next days and weeks wasting time on the ABC moderators. They're not on the ballot. No one can vote for or against them. Just hit the campaign tomorrow. This never occurred, and get right back on message and do everything you were doing the last few weeks before the last few hours.
So I agree with, I think, everything that you just said. However, I want to ask you this question. Donald Trump, I think, for Trump, did really well compared to some of the other debates he's had.
I don't disagree with that.
Right, okay.
The debate was never about him.
Correct.
It was about, can people see her as a palatable president? And I'm saying figure on purpose, because everyone with an IQ over 12, including a lot of people that will vote for her, know she's really not going to run the country and make the decisions.
Yes.
Okay? So can they see her as the figure, as the figurehead, as the front for all of this? I will tell you, I watched her campaign up close and personal in Iowa 4 years ago.
Horrible.
She was horrible. We've all seen her as vice president for the last few years.
Horrible.
Okay? She's never performed close to what we saw here tonight.
Right.
That was almost like a supernatural, maybe it was, transformation. Okay?
I will tell you.
That is not
I mean,
Kamala
she did
Harris
invoke
in the
faith.
natural that we have seen.
She did invoke faith when talking about why to abort your child. Who else invokes faith the language of faith when talking about child sacrifice? Well, ...
The one thing I learned about her during the convention was she takes advice. She listens to advice and applies herself.
Yeah, and she knows the more that you hear from Kamala Harris, the more people don't like Kamala Harris. And she is oddly aware of that. And it's such an interesting thing. I think most people are defensive if people tell you that. She knows it. She's internalized it. And she knows, run out the clock, let him talk. Every time he was talking and she wasn't was good for her.
She had 2 cackle lines today where she almost did it and restrained herself. You know what I mean? She takes advice.
You know what's interesting, too, is you know how she just put out her platform, the copy and paste of Biden's policies? She didn't mention anything about the policies that she's going to propagate as president, even on that debate stage. She just criticized him. If there's one word that I would use to describe her in this debate, it was disciplined. She knew exactly what she was going for. She knew exactly what strategy that she had to use. She delivered her lines. It actually was pretty much like her background as a prosecutor.
Is the side-by-side where she is looking at him the whole time, or reacting to him the whole time. And he never looks over and acknowledges her at all, but is basically in resting bitch face all night long. I promise you his debate team did not tell him to do that. I promise you they didn't tell him.
I have to tell you, for Donald Trump, I actually appreciated the fact that he wasn't when she was rolling her eyes and saying, that's not true. On that's things that we knew were true.
The condescending
Or
smile.
this. I love this because it's so natural.
Right, yeah. I mean, there's no table there,
No table. What are you resting
What is
on?
that?
That's not rest.
She practiced it on another table at home, and then the table wasn't high enough, and she had to do it anyway. I want to go to a clip here. This is from the debate. Sarah, you pointed this one out. Check this clip out.
We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums.
I mean, first of all, the condescending smile, the I'm amused at what he's saying smile is so fake and irritating. Sarah, what do you think of that?
Well, I mean, that is kind of the point, right? I don't disagree that Donald Trump was not at his best. Now, I will say that I liked the restraint that he showed, and I do know that he has to walk a fine line debating a woman. Liz, as I'm sure you know, you're kind of screwed.
Especially that woman.
Right, because you can't go too hard because then you'll be called a bully because somehow a man can't defend himself against a woman. Right. And so, but what I think is going to be really interesting to see in the coming days and weeks is how the average American, maybe the independent, maybe the suburban mom views that. Because what I can tell you is, trust me, I agree with you that a lot of voters are maybe a little bit low IQs on the other side particularly. But I think what's so important about this particular election is that people feel the pain that Donald Trump is talking about in that clip.
Yes.
They feel the inflation. They feel the gas pump. They feel how much more they are paying. They feel their paycheck being strained to its very limit. They're going into debt. And so to have the person who is second in command of those policies stand there and laugh at their pain, I don't think that sits well with them. So I don't know that Donald Trump's not bringing up the things that we wanted him to bring up, or maybe.
To that end, Sarah, tomorrow the campaign ought to be rolling out videos and commercials based on these clips.
And
flip it completely around.
Yes,
okay?
exactly.
Do not talk about his performance. Don't try to spin it. Don't even do any interviews. Just move on.
Right.
But take these clips, and this woman doesn't care about you, lies about you, all right, and immediately try to spin it against them. That's what I would do.
Yeah, because she did it multiple times during very important issues. The border, she did it. The economy, war. I mean, these are important issues that in any other debate where you're not talking about someone who is already in power right now, you might be able to get away with that. But you are literally creating these policies that everyone is seeing. We're all seeing it. We're all feeling it. And you're laughing in our faces. I don't think that plays well.
Yeah, I felt that. I felt that's why I disagree with Donald Trump. I like the fact that he didn't make any face, because every time she rolled her eyes, I was insulted.
Yeah.
I was insulted.
Yeah. By the way, I think Donald Trump only has resting bitch face as his only mode. I can't imagine Donald Trump not looking like that. So,
just real quick before I want to go to another clip, but there's a couple of different kinds of debates. The last one we saw was this huge change, earth-shaking change in a race, more than any other in history. And there's been other examples of that. You know, the Romney first one with Obama in 2012, the '84 first one, Reagan, Mondale. There's been, the Nixon going back years and years that, were major events in campaigns. There's that kind of the debate. And then there's kind of the normal one where, it's not really, you're not changing tons of minds. Does anyone think this race was upended tonight?
Oh, yes.
You think it was upended?
I do. Yeah.
In what way?
Because she is now a viable president to a lot of people who were unsure before.
That's true. She has sealed.
That's
anybody who said they wanted more information about her.
Correct.
Couldn't see it. That
would be there were. I think Fox had a poll a few days ago. By a 3-to-1 margin, people wanted more information on her, which would make sense. Trump's run 3 times, but even before he ran, he was one of the most famous people in the world. You'd think you know everything, right? And so all you heard is this woman's an idiot, this woman's a moron, which frankly, up until moments like this, she had been her entire political career, right? And then she comes in here tonight and performs as well as she did. Absolutely. I doubt we'll ever see anything other than the formal end of America, like what the June 27th debate did.
Yeah, that's a high standard.
All right, but this is not a nondescript event. I mean, she cleared a very viable threshold for them. If I were them, I'd run and hide. There's no way we're doing another one of these. Never happened in a million years. Okay, you had your shot. All right, and you didn't take it. That's a you problem, okay? And you're going to have to come up with your own headlines. Hope James Comey sends another letter to the Senate. At least I like to think strategically the way my enemy does so I can beat them. That's what I'd be thinking if I were them, okay? They are going to be giddy tonight. They escaped this, and they did better than escape. She was palatable at times. She bested him and got under his skin at times. So they're going to run and hide. They crossed the biggest threshold a new candidate always has, which is, are you a credible president? If they crossed that threshold, the job certainly got harder tonight.
Can you quantify that, you think? If she's leading by, let's say, half a point to a point in swing state polls right now, does this move it to 5 points? Does it move it to 3 points?
I think it's worse than that for this reason. We don't know what the margin of cheating is anymore. All right. On the Trump side, because everyone knows the Republican Party sucks, so they've outsourced their get out the vote effort to third-party groups like Elon Musk Group, like Turning Point USA. This may be a stroke of genius. It may be the same, more of the same. We don't know. That's a wild card on our side. Okay. But, I go back to something that our CEO, Tyler Cardin, said the night of the June 27th debate. For Democrats, it's not about whether or not they can get the votes that they need. It's about whether or not there is a credible narrative that people will believe if they do. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. After tonight, they have a credible narrative. Okay. They can justify anything they want to come out of Maricopa County, Wayne County, Philadelphia County, Fulton County. They can justify any map they want to come out of there.
That's why they had to get rid of Joe Biden.
And that's why, because they couldn't. Yep. No one was going to believe that got 80 million votes again.
Right.
Tonight, they can get people to believe that got 80 million votes. And that is a paradigm shifter on some level, I believe.
And I do think there's an element of watching this, and they believe they can fool people really about anything, even facts that I think everybody knows by now. There was an example of this, and I want to show a clip of it. This is an example of one of the many lies that she told, and I want to get your reaction. Watch.
This is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville.
Oh my gosh.
Where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side. Let's remember that when it came to the Proud Boys, a militia, the former president said, stand back and stand by. So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th was, I say we don't have to go back.
An amazing clip. Watching her spout. First of all, I feel bad for the Tiki Torch Company because they didn't want to get involved in this. They wanted some nice
just out here catching
lighting.
Strays in front of 75 million people.
I just feel bad for them.
Yes.
Liz, what do you think of that?
I hope all voters watch that particular clip, because if you are able as a human being to lie without even blinking an eye, without your pupils dilating, without your heartbeat elevating, then you have ice water in your veins. Mm-hmm. And that should chill. I mean, politicians notoriously lie, but I don't know if we've ever seen anything to that extent. And when I heard her last line of the debate, her closing statement, she looks at Trump, she says, do we have to disparage each other in our country? I thought to myself, less than 2 months ago, that man was targeted for an attempted assassination. They tried to murder him because of lies like Kamala Harris was telling on that stage. She is, on one hand, inviting violence like that to happen in our country, and on the other hand, trying to gaslight all of us watching. I'm going back to what you said at the beginning, where you said you felt insulted every time she rolled her eyes. She's gaslighting us while she's causing what's going to happen in 2025. I mentioned this in the pregame coverage, or the pre-debate coverage, when I said in 2025 they're going to try to put Trump in jail because they want political violence. Mm-hmm. Conservatives are not the ones who are bloodthirsty. They're not the ones who want a civil war. The left does. And they're going to cause that to happen by putting Trump in jail. There'll be some crazy person out there who feels righteous indignation over this injustice, but doesn't control himself, commit some act of violence. It will cause unrest, and that is the moment the Democrats are waiting for to clamp down on all of our liberties under the guise of keeping us safe from not just an insurrection, but an actual civil war. Kamala Harris knows exactly what she's doing, and it was evident in the debate tonight.
I will tell you, you're right on all of that. I said, you were with me, 2008. Do not take the bait. They need you to be violent. And they have done this to us since 2007. You know, when he was talking about grab their guns and their Bibles, and it's reaching a boiling point, as we saw with the assassination attempt. But I think the scarier thing is not just that she would lie, that she lies with such confidence because she knows no one in the mainstream media will hold them responsible. That shows you this is a state-run media. Mm-hmm. The reason why politicians haven't lied like that before is because there was always someone that would keep them in check. They've squashed the voices of the everyday person and the new media. They want to put us out of business with their Department of Misinformation and all of that bull crap. And they know, these politicians know, I can say anything.
You know, Glenn, as I was watching that, thinking very much the same thing, and I flashed back to many years ago to think that this is why you started the Blaze. It was nights like tonight why you started. I mean, this is really kind of the germ of how this whole thing began, right?
Yeah, we started, you know, we were before Netflix, HBO, Amazon. We were delivering video when we still had the buffering wheel. Okay, nobody could watch it. But our audience understood what's coming. I hope they understand what's coming soon. If she wins, I do not think our voices will be able to be heard unless they allow us to be on our own platform, and everybody else, they just shun us everywhere, but we're still allowed to have a voice that you can log into. But if they win, they will shut all of our voices down.
In a moment like this, I do think it's important to remind you to go to blazetv.com/debate. If you want to be involved in the project Glenn just described and to fight back against the stuff you saw tonight, we need you. blazetv.com/debate. The code is debate for $40.
I asked somebody just the other day who I think everybody here would respect and the audience would respect as well. Where do we go? I've been asking this question for a long time, as you know. If it gets this bad, where do we go for Radio Free America? The answer is no place. There is no place. Where are you going to go? England? France? Russia? Where are you going to go? They are going to use, you see this in their plans. They've built the machine. This is why Trump cannot win. They've built the machine. They've started it up. All they need is just really, honestly, a few more months. Get past this election all over the world. Get past, get in power, and then stay in power. We are headed for real trouble. Real trouble.